G'day, g'day.
Hey,
How you
hey.
going? 43 OG, how's things, mate?
What's going on, Dozer?
Not heaps, mate. Just cracking the first spear of the day. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, happy hour.
For sure, man, for sure. Every time I look at this West Coast stubby holder, I'm thinking, I think we literally got the wooden spoon this year. So,
Oh, did you?
Anyway, yeah, it was the Eagles. Yeah, the Aussies.
The
We know what I'm
Eagles.
talking about. That the AFL Grand Final's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's not this weekend, next weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So that should be interesting. And so, how you been, man? I saw you did a stream with RH Max and Jexa on like privacy and stuff.
Yeah. Some privacy and security stuff on the channel earlier today.
Yeah, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, that was fun, dude. Like, I'm happy to talk about stuff like that, like ad infinitum, like, and listen to people talk about it, like go back and forth about it, because it's, I just find it so interesting. And there's always something to learn. There is always something to learn. Like, no one knows it all. Nobody.
Yeah, and you just pick it up as you go, don't you, sort of thing. And eventually you somehow become a guru and people go, oh, how do you know so much about this? And it's like, oh, I just learned from everyone else, just like small bits at a time.
And you know, like, you learn more, and it's like the more you learn, it's just like, oh, I know so little. It's like the more you learn about this stuff. I mean, just even like most people have no idea about like what the network stack is and how that, how that works, and how, like, everything is like everything that is all the internet. It's like packets being encapsulated in other things and then going down and being encapsulated again and then going down and then encapsulated again. It's and then segmented into all these parts and streaming across, and then you've got things like, you've got TCP, you've got UDP,
all the protocols.
The protocols, like there's some things that go over the internet that you need every single packet. You need every single little bit of information, or it just doesn't. It's not going to work. Like, if you're sending software from A to B, that needs to be TCP. You can't miss out on bits of software to get things from part A to point B, right? But if you're streaming, like right now, this would be UDP, right?
Right.
Because because you can drop packets, and it's fine. It's like you drop a retry.
It does a retry and just accumulates.
You don't actually even want it to retry to get a packet, because then that's going to make it. It's going to make it like lose. Like, it's going to go back and do all this work to try and get this packet, but we've moved on. We're still talking. So if you
unless there's like a buffer or something, because I know with like Ethernet and stuff like that, like you can lose like 5% of the packets, and it's no big deal. But I guess it depends.
It's the rabbit hole is so deep on this stuff that you can learn about it, and then it's so deep that if you're not like constantly on it, you can forget about it, and then you go back and learn it again, and just like, oh man, I forgot about all this stuff.
Wow, that's so awesome. Complex. That's cool that you're learning all that stuff, man. Like, that's
I learned it years ago. I learned it years ago, man. And I go back, and sometimes I go back and read about it, and it's like, oh man, how did, like, this stuff is just, but it's fundamental. It's like the building blocks of the internet is like, TCP IP.
That's amazing. And for me also, like, you get the TCP/IP protocols, all that sort of stuff. That's really impressive. And then you also get your, like, say, Bluetooth or or your Wi-Fi transmitter modulations, all the GFSK, all that stuff that might do, or like the 802.11 Wi-Fi stuff. So then there's
that's at the network.
All sorts of there's like,
that's the network adapter level. So in the network stack, that's further down to
there's protocols there, and then you've got protocols like, so because then you're sending to GSM, so you or whatever it is, 4G, LTE, that's got a whole bunch of frequency multiplexing, time multiplexing protocols, and there's so many protocols stacked on top of each other, and they all just work. And we're just like, oh yeah, it works, and we're like talking satellites, but still flat Earth, or whatever. And you're like, bro, you've just looked
Yeah.
at so much technology. You've got like 12-layer boards, you know, all these like hardcore microprocessors, and all this code and everything, and you use it all the time. And then it's just like, yeah, but it's magic, and we don't want to actually know how it works. We just want to make up some narrative as to like how other shit works. It's like, no, these guys know their shit. The guys who do hardcore electronics, hardcore programming, they are just so elite that it's amazing that it even works at all. And it's that
just the Wi-Fi and like radio side of things is a massive rabbit hole of just endless. You can go into that, and if you go into that, then you start to realize, oh shit, I really do want to get the latest router. You know, I don't want to be, and you start like you also realize that like how shitty Wi-Fi is as a security, like from a security perspective, and how like every iteration of the new Wi-Fi that came out, the new standard, like security wise, like, you know, encryption and stuff, how the reason they had to bring out new ones is because the old ones sucked. You know, the old ones were so easily hackable.
And yeah, exactly.
Like, so I think, remember WEP, WEP?
Yep. And
so
WPK
that was like,
and all those. Yeah.
So the WPA, PSK.
There was,
and
WP. And so
it's like
it's just not, it doesn't cut the mustard.
WEP is just like so easily hackable. Like,
So then the interesting thing is there. Sorry to interrupt. The interesting thing there is like, so when we just trust like RSA encryption and we're like, oh yeah, this is the bee's knees. But sooner or later, we're going to have quantum computers. I mean, they already have amazing, like, you know, qubits that are, you know, entangled quantum bits and things like that, that are just able to just process, you know, amazing, you know, magnitude of calculations per second. And so they used to, you know, the old supercomputers, they used to take 50 years to perform some of these calculations. They can do them in a few minutes. So like there is a little bit of I have a little bit of a concern when it comes to quantum computing, not so much AI, but I'm sure AI will play a part, like, but it's the quantum computing in terms of breaking RSA encryption in the next 10 to 20 years. So, but the thing is, because we advance crypto so quickly, like in 3 months, there's like some new tech, and then 6 months later, and then so in 15 years time, our encryption will just be off the chain, like elite, because it will just keep getting better and better.
Whatever tech they can use to break the encryption, they can also use that power to create the encryption.
Yep. And that's awesome.
So I guess that's going to be
works both ways. Yep. I just want to do a quick shout out to the chat. So there's a few people, there's a few regulars. G'day, Red Squirrel. Yep. Oi. Wall to wall. Sup, mate. We got Mango Junkie in the house as always. What a legend. BMA. Oh, he's got the old school Nirvana Nevermind cover, if you don't mind. That's what Mango Junkie needs to do, because he's worried that RH has abandoned us, but never mind.
Hey, you know what I like to think? I like to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And when I say that, what I mean is we know that there's some legal stuff going on.
Yeah.
Maybe he's been advised. Maybe he's been advised that it's better overall if he just lays really, really low, you know?
Yeah. I think, and also like there's not much to talk about in a bear market or sideways market, maybe call it crab market, where it's just not much going on. People are just waiting. And then what I've noticed is anytime there's like a massive pump, people just come in and just, you know, it's been in such a bear market for so long that people just try and extract any money they can out of any pumps. And you see it on the Bitcoin chart, but it also happens in our community. Although I've noticed PulseChain has been on a tear lately. It's sort of decorrelated from BTC and the rest of the markets.
Yeah. I think these sorts of things are going to be sporadic over the coming months and, you know, I dare say years. I don't know that we are necessarily going to follow Like, I really wouldn't be surprised if Pulse and PulseX pump and Hex and everything, our ecosystem pumps at the very end of everything. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if other stuff
it's a bit of
pumps
guesswork,
first.
isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm expecting that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way it plays out. Like, I just wouldn't be surprised, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard. And I remember when BTC took an almighty shit and just was dumping and dumping and dumping, I was like, oh, my hex bags, I'm wrecked. And then it was actually pumping throughout that whole, well, maybe not at the very start, but it actually pumped out of that massive BTC dump. And I was like, oh, well, happy days. So sometimes it can just decorrelate like that. So, but though it's weird because those correlations, like the correlation between the PulseChain community, you know, Hex and BTC, it's that sort of almost like they go in and out of phase. So at some points they can be really in phase and the correlation, and it just tracks when BTC goes up, BTC goes down. And then every now and then they just sort of go out of phase. And then all of a sudden, you know, BTC will come down and then Hex will just start going up and you're just like, oh, hang on, it wasn't like this before. And then they start tracking again. So it's really kind of hard to judge that correlation. In fact, I'll pull up really quickly because people probably don't want, oh, that'll happen. Let's see if I put that there. Oh, there we go. So I don't want to talk about charts for too long, but just we were talking about this last week about this potential fractal with the BTC head and shoulders and the neckline being the resistance from that second fractal that we're sort of in now. And then BTC has been kind of sticking to this right shoulder kind of pattern on the weekly. And it looks like this candle is actually quite bearish because it is it's like an inverted hammer, and it kind of implies that it's been sold down and it's about to flip. But you know, the week's not over, and it could just bust out of this and just take off. So who knows really? But it's still kind of on track for this right shoulder to finish sort of mid to late October. And then it could potentially spill down to 20K, or it could just start pumping. So this is the sort of target that I was saying.
But that like, so you're thinking maybe until early 2024, and then it, you know, BTC could potentially pump into 2024, into the later parts of 2024, based on what the blue lines I'm seeing.
Yes. So basically this was the trend line, almost, I guess, a diagonal resistance from the head and the right shoulder of the last head and shoulders. And then with this fractal, it's kind of got a similar, if it plays out, I would expect it to undershoot this and then make its way back up. So it's a bit, you know, sort of tea leaves. But one of the things I was saying was, like last week, that the time between all-time high and the all-time low was exactly like 365 days. And then it was like nearly exactly 3 years from all-time high to breaking the all-time high from the previous cycle. And then so if you do that extrapolation from the peak of the last cycle, it puts the breaking that
May 2024.
This is October 2024. That's breaking like 67K. But yeah, October, yes. But that, I mean, it could keep going, you know, obviously up or whatever. But that was the target. And then so I was thinking, well, if the triangle does break that,
that's if it plays out like
it's got
like identically to how it's played out before. But
exactly,
I guess,
which is kind of sounds unlikely, doesn't it?
It usually doesn't play out exactly like that. So why don't we try and think outside the box of what could be something that rhymes but is not like the same exact thing? Because the reason I say that is because what you've just outlined is what probably a lot of people, and
99% of
myself
people.
included,
Yep.
have gone back and said, "Oh, this is what it did last time in the last cycle.
Yep.
This is what it's going to do now." Like we can.
Yeah,
maybe
it's a hard one though, because you kind of, there is that thing in crypto, and I think I learned this from Tangent, is he used to have a scrolling down the bottom of his thing where he would say, you know, when you start saying this time is different, that's when you can get a little bit wrecked. You know, when you kind of go, oh,
I wouldn't go as
this
far
time
as
it's not going to do.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's different, as in think we're going to go into a bull
different
at some
way
stage
of getting to the same place.
But they
Is that
also
what you're saying?
say, they also say it doesn't history
Doesn't repeat,
rhymes.
it rhymes. Yeah,
It doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So what is a rhyme that we could see that isn't an exact replication of the last cycle, but because, and bear in mind that the very effect that of people all thinking that something's going to happen
almost makes it unlikely, doesn't it? Yeah,
it's completely unlikely, because everyone is just waiting for this one thing to happen.
I haven't heard that many people talking about this fractal. I saw one guy, and this was after I started saying it, which was that Rect Capital guys, the BTC Rect Capital, started talking about it, and it didn't really have this exact, you know, head and shoulders fractal last cycle. So it's not exactly the same as last time. In fact, it wasn't even a double top last cycle. So it is different, but in terms of the timing between all-time high to all-time low was exactly the same this cycle. So then it's like, if those significant points are the same, then how it gets to that significant points could be anything, right? But then assuming it still hits those points at the same time, I guess that's the assumption.
If you look at this chart, right, the last double top, right, the last double top, if you invert that negative part of it and it had gone up to a blow off top instead of, you know, we could have seen $150,000 BTC had it played out differently.
But 100%.
We saw people taking profits early because they were front running the blow off top. And that actually, I mean, I'm assuming that's what when people start, you know, front running, look at what it did from October 2021, October 2020. Look where it was October 2020, all the way down. That first green line, it's at $11,000-$12,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then look at that huge run up in the matter of only 6 months.
Yeah, that is out of control. And I mean, I also think that the alts are leveraged on that. So you might only get, say, only 450% up on that, but then you see, that's when you start to see the 1000Xs and things like that in some of the alts, because it's just all pumping at that. So that's what we're waiting for. I mean,
the other thing I just want to point out is that
we've
got to now remember as well that BTC is very heavily people have invested in BTC, not people, entities, large multinationals.
BlackRock, all the ETFs.
They're invested in BTC, so their sell point is different to ours. Their point of taking profit is a lot lower than our point, you and I. Like, so
100%.
I wouldn't expect BTC to do doubles and triples anymore. I just wouldn't expect it, because they're happy with a 20%, 30% return.
Yeah, I think Somi's dead right when, you know, shout out to Somi. Somi talks about that stuff a bit as well. And he
shout out to Somi.
Like, yes, I've got my fluffy slippers on, man. I'm telling you, always.
I wish I had my fluffy slippers on,
fluffy slippers, like Ugwits for the win.
Oh, I've got to tell you, I went back to jiu-jitsu today.
Oh, awesome. Oh, what, today?
Today, yes.
Holy shit.
Just before I went back today and had my first roll in like 3 years, dude.
Oh, congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's really good. I think that's going to be so good for you, because just keeping your body active and moving, and like just all your joints and everything, and just strength. How did you go?
It was like, I'm very, very rusty, but
of course.
The muscle memory is 100% there. It's like I trained for long enough and for hard enough when I started. I trained for long enough and hard enough to really have muscle memory that I'm never going to lose. Like, I'm always going to have I can, like, I knew
so cool,
exactly where to go. I was rusty though. I was just like, I'd
yeah,
get to
yeah,
a
yeah.
you know, I'd get to the point, the fork in the road of a move, of a position, and I'm just like, which way do I go again now? Like, what do I do now? Like, I was like
Yep.
second guessing myself, but I did get someone. I did. So I tapped a couple of.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was good, but I did like tweak the muscle. There's something behind your knee. What's the one behind your
Oh,
knee? What's that?
I have no
The
idea.
thing that
Yeah,
connects to the calf. I don't know. I tweaked that a little bit, but
oh, yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of nerves and stuff in there as well. So when you got back in, did you go through like your standard sort of drills and things like that, or did you just go straight into rolling? Like, because I
it
know,
was a lesson. So I warmed up,
yeah,
and then we just went into some drills and some positions.
drills.
We did
Can I
some
just say
side control
some of the
stuff. And
side control, nice, nice. So
we did
some of
some
my
side
favorite,
control stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So some of my favorite like drills to go through is the Holy Trinity. So you probably know about this. Um, so if you say you're going, well, actually, there's two of them which are like you can go between. So if you're going from like a Kimura to like a sit-up sweep, and then if they sort of put their weight down on you, you can turn it into a guillotine. But it's like that's practicing, I guess, the Kimura. And then there's you go from like an arm bar, and then if they try and get out of it, you can go into like a leg triangle, and then you try and the defense for that is to like hold the hip. You can turn it into a omoplata. So that, and then you can you cycle between those. So when if you go from like an arm bar to a leg triangle, and then you can go back. So and just cycling between those, it really just drubs your core, and that's from underneath.
So
Yeah,
what are we
those
doing?
three.
You're doing the sit-up sweep?
So from practicing a Kimura, and then if they put their weight back, you can do a sit-up sweep. But if they put their weight forward, you turn it into a guillotine. So that's the three. And then the other one is if you're underneath, if you're in guard, and you do like go for an arm bar, and then you swap it to a leg triangle. And then if they do the defense for that, you can turn it into omoplata. So those three, but you can just cycle through them. They're really good for just like just as a drill almost, just to practice through those motions with your training partner, and it just works really well. And get those back to how you sort of used to do them. And then when you're rolling, you just go, oh, hang on, I'm in this position, bang. And because I always think of it as it's physical chess. So it's like when they put their arms in a certain position, and you just go,
it's a good analogy. Chess
Americana, like
is
here
a
we
very
go.
good analogy, yeah.
And then, but it's always like, depending on the opportunities that present, you have to change, how it goes. So
it's a language. Like I really think that when you're, because it's like, yeah, it's something that if you've never done it before, I think that everyone should do jiu-jitsu. I really think that everyone should have
100%.
to do jiu-jitsu from like a young age. If everyone knew how to fight, there'd be no fights. There'd be no fights, dude.
Yeah.
Because
You're just so much more chilled when in those situations.
And everyone knows that, like, when you train, you get all the aggressive stuff out of your system, especially if you're a dude, right? You get all of that is gone, so you chill after. But also you have a respect for, anyone can fuck me up. Because that's one thing that a lot of people.
It's very humbling. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they're the man, and if I get in a fight, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then
until you get made piss a few times. Yeah.
But if you're training all the time, that on any given day, someone in the gym can fuck you up. Right? You know that that is a fact. That's an objective thing that from training like all the time. So that's why I think it would be great if everyone just did it as a part of school. Like when you go to school, I think
the guard should be taught, because people who can't present a guard is like, oh, you're going to get fucked up. You need to at least be able to have, a guard that you can at least use your hips to stop someone from just pounding the shit out of you. But yeah, look, I do like Muay Thai and stuff as well. And I do all the stand-up stuff. And that's a lot more cardio, I guess. And I get hit a lot. So it always reminds me, just like, because especially when anyway, I could talk about this for hours, man. Like, I literally could. So maybe we should get back to you're like, yeah, fuck
bro, it's happy hour.
whether
If you
no one
want to
wants
talk
to.
it's
No,
happy
no,
hour
no,
on
no.
your show.
I know, but I get animated.
We might inspire people. We might inspire people to go and take a jiu-jitsu class or go take a kickboxing class.
Kickboxing. I would recommend it 100%. And I think there's something to be said about discipline, and it's the delayed gratification as well, where, like, I've been working towards my black belt for like 10 years and I'm still not there. And it's like, you're just chipping away, and it's the discipline of turning up, 2 to 3 times a week or whatever. And there's a lot of things, particularly for children, if you're getting your kids into it and stuff like that. I think that is those traits of like discipline and hard work and being humbled, and they're really good traits for kids. So I think it's great for everyone. And I mean, just self-defense and stuff like that. So I definitely would encourage people. So what I was going to say is, how we were talking about, there was a bit of a pump going on with our PulseChain, things like that. Yeah. So
Pulse and PulseX
let me just
pumped
pull
about
that up.
40%. Was it 40%? Something along those lines?
Yeah, it was like 40%. And I was like, this is out of control. And it almost looked like we had the W pattern playing out. And so this triangle broke down and sort of went down to where it wicked down to before. This is on the daily, because there's obviously not as much time. Like, PulseChain's relatively young. But then it kind of bounced off this, and then it made a higher high here. And then so since then, it's just actually been tracking on this trend line. And there's nothing wrong with like a little bit of a healthy pullback. You know what I mean? Like, because it went up so much, it had to pull back somewhat. And then now, so I'm really excited to see if it can bust above this resistance, because that was where that triangle broke down, which was actually, this line of resistance here at like 0.0045. I think Tangent calls it like roughly the whale base sack point. So if you had like 0.001 was the sack price for 10,000 coins per dollar, and then the whales got in at like a maximum of 2.5x that, you sort of around that 0.4 or 404. So if we can get above that and turn this resistance into support and keep tracking along this, then I'm going to be pretty bullish. But it is interesting to see how correlated we are to the BTC. And I know the interest rates, so in the US, were on pause. Jeremy Powell the other day, the FOMC meeting. So, and that was kind of baked in. So there's not a lot, happening in terms of macro. So maybe it's still just going to have to grind out and wait to see what happens with BTC until sort of mid-October or whatever, whether it's going to drop down or whether it's going to bust out. But hopefully, because we're in our own kind of little ecosystem, our own little bubble, it might be that we start to decorrelate more and start to have our own trends going on. And one of the things I think that was driving that, whether you like it or not, was that people seem to be pumping all of these Atropa coins, the PDI, the whatever, Moon King's got a whole bunch of them, and then so when those things pump, it seems like they then take profits from that and put it into Pulse. And then when Pulse starts pumping, they take it out of that and put it back into these shit coins. And then like rinse and repeat. So there's kind of like this, because the liquidity is lower on these shit coins, they can pump harder, and then they can take profits and then put it into Pulse, and then Pulse pumps, and then they can take profit. And so it's sort of like, if you're chasing green candles, you're actually kind of providing exit liquidity for people who are then swapping into the other system. That's what it seems like to me. That's what's going on. But I haven't really looked into it on chain to see if that's what's going on.
There's definitely a percentage of the RH, I say the RH ecosystem, people who are in the RH ecosystem who are doing the whole degen stuff. And I don't say degen in any sort of in a pejorative sense. I just say it like just to explain that there's like all these tokens that people are coming in and out of, and I almost feel like people are doing that because they're just bored with it's like we need to be doing something.
What's going on? Let's go see what this pussy coin's got.
Exactly. But you know, there's no we always have to remember, like, I'm very much like an RH ecosystem. I'm not going to say I'm a maxi from the perspective that like everyone else has to do what I think. It's just that's where I am.
That's what you do. Yeah.
That's what I do.
I'm sort of the same. It's like people can do whatever the hell they want with their own money.
Yeah. I actually like as a fundamental principle, I think that, you know, what we're looking for, like I believe that when it comes to crypto, that we haven't like got the final, we may not have the final answer yet. Like, I think the best thing that's out, I think the best thing that we've got is Hex, in my mind.
Yes.
And Bitcoin is the one holding the torch. Like, that's the one, you know, charging ahead, holding the torch. But it is what it is. Like, it's old tech, you know, but it is what it is. It's people believe in it, and that's important. You know, that's really important for the future of crypto at this point in time. Who knows if that's going to be the case in future, whether we need Bitcoin to be holding the torch. Maybe Ethereum will hold the torch. You know, we haven't had anything beat Bitcoin. If Ethereum at some stage, if there's a flippening, which it seems to me like that is more and more possible, more and more likely every cycle.
But just one thing sorry to interrupt, that ETH has actually gone down against Bitcoin since the merge. It's made new lower lows since the merge.
Against BTC. Against
Bitcoin. Yeah. Not a big deal, but like
I think it would be I don't think to extrapolate too much. Why don't we bring up that chart? Well, I don't think we want to extrapolate too much out of that, because we don't have enough data to say what it is or what it isn't. It could very much be a matter of, now at the moment it's going down, but in a bull, when we're full bull, maybe you know, it goes up a lot more, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe the cost of Ethereum messes it up too much. Like, it's hard to say, but it's
unless they introduce the sharding and all that sort of stuff as well.
Dude, I think that is so far away.
So far away.
Like,
it could very well be.
Honestly, I think they've done this. I think they probably feel that they're good for a few years now that they've done this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no sharding or anything for a long, long time.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised.
So this is ETH. Sorry, this is ETH versus BTC, right? So since I think the
can we look at the whole
about a year ago?
Can we go back and see the whole
the
whole thing? Those two,
I mean,
those two tops there, what are they? Those two, are they
this is like 2017. This is the bull market.
And what's the next top?
Because I think what happens is Richard even said this, that so I think Ethereum had its all-time high like 27 days after the BTC all-time high, and then it happened twice in the two cycles. That's one of the reasons why he was able to predict, I think, the ETH all-time high as well in the last cycle. So that's just because as BTC has peaked, and then as it goes down, and then there's like a lag where ETH has its all-time high. That's when those peaks are.
Dude, I think this chart is going to go up because
I think it could too, 100%. But I just thought that was interesting. I mean, I'm more bullish on ETH
let's
than
do a
I
thought
am of
experiment.
Bitcoin.
Let's do a thought experiment. How high do you think? Let's be conservative for BTC. How high is it going to get?
Look, I think it will break the all-time high, but I don't think it's just something about the 100K.
Let's be conservative.
Yeah, look, I would say somewhere between, say maybe, you get wicks into the 90Ks.
So let's just say 90K.
Maybe let's just say 90K.
80, 85, 90K. That's conservative. We're being conservative, like super, super conservative here. All right.
We don't know. I mean, but that's
we don't know, but we just want to be we're just going to be conservative. We're just doing a thought experiment. We're thinking aloud.
Sure.
Now, what about
Ethereum?
What about Ethereum? What do you think Ethereum will do at a minimum? At a minimum, considering you think 10K?
Yeah, I think 10K is conservative. For some reason, it's just one of those round numbers where people just go ETH to 10K. So let's call it 9K because I think it won't get there. You know what I mean?
So that's going to be 0.1. 0.1. Where on this chart is 0.1?
Up here.
Can we zoom out to see if that is higher than?
It's not. No. So the best ratio that they had was 0.15.
0.15. So that would mean that Ethereum would have to be 13. If Bitcoin is 90,000, Ethereum would have to be 13.5.
Okay, interesting.
To match that. To match that all-time high. To match that.
Yeah, that is interesting. So and so that just means that you've got better ROI, a better percentage gain potential with Ethereum because it's kind of I think so. I mean, you'd have to look at the liquidity and a bunch of other things as well.
I mean, we could, if you want, if we just to think of a different number. I mean, I think we could hit 80K and then that could be it for Bitcoin. That wouldn't surprise me. I'll be honest with you. That would not surprise me if we hit 80K and institutions, GOX, people, everyone's just like, yo.
Shit, sorry, man.
Everyone is just like, yo. This 15% over the last all-time high is great. We're going to take profits at 15%, and then maybe it doesn't go down as much, and maybe we just have like a crab, market for a few years. I mean, who knows? We might have seen the end.
There's a lot of speculation, isn't there?
I'm speculating out my ass right now. I'm going hard on speculation.
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah. No, but like I agree with you. I think and Somi's kind of talked about that diminishing returns with BTC. But did you see that Mount Gox delayed their
by another year
coming out by another year? Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? That they just go, oh yeah, could be next week. Actually, plus or minus 1 year.
Bro, it's so like
it's a meme now that they keep threatening to, the Mount Gox coins are going to come out. So
I would I'd be so dark if I was, because it's just lawyers who are going to get paid.
I feel bad for those guys. Yeah,
it's so clearly that lawyers are just like hey, as long as we string this out, we get paid, right? And it comes out of that money. So they're just like, it's in their interests to do whatever they
100%.
can to drag it out
motivated.
for longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like,
should they end it sooner and get less money, or should they drag it out and get more money? It's like, what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, it's like, but just to go back for 1 second, one last piece of speculation. If Bitcoin only went to, if Bitcoin, so let's do a different scenario.
Okay.
If Bitcoin went to 110K, and Ethereum went to 19 500,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a 0.17, which would be a new all-time high on the
new all-time
Bitcoin.
high.
And
Gotcha.
at that point, I'm not even sure if do we get a flippening at that point? It's hard to, I don't know. No, we don't, do we?
No, I think the flippening is actually
a long way.
Do we have a ratio? Cap or is it?
It's market cap. Yeah.
It's market cap that they're talking about, which is kind of a silly metric, isn't it?
It is,
because when you start looking at total coins by price, if you just have a quadrillion coins at whatever,
I think
it's the liquidity that's important.
I just want to preface that with, it's a silly metric when there's not much liquidity. When there's a lot of liquidity, I think it's more relevant. It's
so
like
there really needs to be
relevant.
There needs to be another metric, which is actually like a cross product of the market cap versus the liquidity as like a function of those two things. That would be a good indicator. So not just market cap alone, but like market cap times liquidity. And you'd be like, all of a sudden, you'd go, oh, hang on, just because you've got a wicked market cap, your liquidity shit, you don't even rank on this. We should just make out, I think you just coined it. We call it the 43 indicator. We'll put it on TradingView and just put market cap versus liquidity and just track. Yeah, that's awesome. You could rank it as well. Why not, man? One of the things I was going to say is there's some cool sites that, I like to always pull up, some cool sites and shit. Have you seen this lookintomaxi.com?
No.
Okay. So
Maxi, Deci.
Well, you can do both. You can swap between PLS or ETH, and it just it just tells you the premium discount, where they're at.
Am I right? Am I right in saying that Deci is the Deci is the one? Am I right?
Well, yeah. I mean, so there's this one here, portfolio.maximus.cash. This one is really cool because you can just go, bam, Deci, 31% discount.
What's that one? Portfolio Maximus Cash. Okay.
Portfolio.maximus.cash. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can put the links in the description after for the replay gang. But this is a cool site because you can just be like, so base is actually, it tells you it's coming out in 9 days. That's when the base thing expires. But it's actually at 1% premium. And then you might just
so hang on. So base at the moment is at the 1% premium.
Yeah, and it's coming out in 9 days.
But to Hex, right?
To the treasury value. So if you consider how much it has that stake, like the 1 year base stake has accrued in terms of Hex, the yield plus the principal.
Gotcha.
And then
so it's not worth it.
Well, it's not worth it now, no, because you could literally buy Hex. You could get more Hex for the same amount than if you bought base if it was at a premium, like say it was like 10%, you'd get more and then it expired. But so this discount's been getting smaller and smaller, and now it's just it's overshot it. So it's in the premiums, but it was at a discount. But yeah, this one's really cool for that. You just go Deci, 31% discount. It's got 3,000 odd days remaining.
Bro,
lucky.
I feel like on Ethereum, Deci is such a good idea because just remember the whole premise of it is that end staking will cost you nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Someone else is going to use the gas to end stake it. Yeah.
Or it might cost, you might want to contribute to a contract that pays for the end stake. But whatever it is, it's not going to be, you're not going to be a regular end stake. You're going to get yield, a 10-year, you're going to get like all the T-shares from, there's another thing, bear in mind, so at the moment, and I'm not sure if we can do this on an aggregate, on maybe an Ethereum aggregator, but if you buy Deci on Ethereum, if you swap your Hex for Deci, or if you were just to buy Deci instead of Hex, for example, you're going to get more Deci than Hex. But, and this is the important point, not only are you going to get more DESI than Hex, right? Which means that if you were to stake it, if you were staking the Hex, you would be getting more DESI. You're getting staked DESI from a year ago. So your T-share rate is, from what I remember, it's
that's
like
interesting.
22. So I worked it out, like maybe this is wrong now, but it would still be similar. I worked it out a couple of weeks ago, and it was like a 45% benefit in terms of T-shares. And maybe we want to go have a look at that. It was serious, like a serious difference and benefit to doing that. But the thing is about it's DESI is so the liquidity is so thin that you can't really do massive trades.
Yes, that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, it's the liquidity, and we talked about that before. And that's because you eat a lot of slippage. It's really puts people off, doesn't it? But I think people will start to add more liquidity, particularly as some of these terms get closer, because it's a great way to earn yield, right? To earn fees in the liquidity pool, because you almost don't really care if you have it like Hex Maxi or Hex Deci pair, whether you get more Hex or more Deci, if you're earning fees to compensate. So and I guess if whether maybe Fux or some of these other farms give you some incentive token as well to offset for any potential impermanent loss, then that could be cool. So anyway, this site is cool. Check it out. It's got some, you can talk about like whether there's like an arb between tokens with respect to other tokens. It's got like graphical, things of like Maxi, and then the other, there's heaps of stats and shit.
Can we go back up there? What are these like colors here? Discount premium
for the mint, and then the stake backing. Yeah, it was a little confusing, I must admit, because when I was looking at, say, so Deci, it's a 31% discount, and it's just saying, I think that it's 34% discount.
All right. So I know that Maxi is like, if you're paying 80% more, is this right? 80% more.
This is saying it's going to premium for the stake. It's like 20% more.
20% premium.
Yeah, so 19%. Yeah.
So that means that, if that is right, that means that you're paying 20% more than you would actually get if you were to cash out.
If it ended today.
Yeah, if it ended today and you were to cash out the principal and the yield, you would have paid 20% more than what you would actually get in terms of Hex, right? Whereas if you look at Deci,
you would get 34% more.
No, you're paying 30. You're paying only 65%.
Yes.
The full amount of what you would get.
Yes,
dude, that's amazing. That's a serious thing. That's like serious.
It's really cool.
Serious.
Yeah. There's I mean, it is a while away, but for those that can wait, that is
it's 9 years.
Certainly something to think about.
But the thing about it though is I keep going. I'm obsessed with this bloody Deci, dude. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Because and I'm being 100%. I've got Deci, right? So I'm saying I've got Deci, right? And I'll be buying more Deci, right? I'll be buying Deci because I feel like as long as that's at a discount and the closer we get to the time, I feel like you're getting 10-year T-shares. You're getting the max stake T-shares when you buy it. And that's why, to me, it's interesting. I just feel like max T-shares are like, the way to go. But anyway,
yeah, man.
I'll stop talking
I think
about
that's
this
awesome.
now.
No, and look, there's the Fux pools as well, right? So you can have a look. So say if you're into your Hedron and Icosa, there's pools for that. but there is a Maximus per pool, so you can provide liquidity there. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here you can do with Fux to earn yield, and also be kind of doing a community service by providing liquidity as well. I had a look on the Grove farms, but
what's this?
This is the one that Tangent was talking about the other day. These are just like your Orange Grove, the
farm
the Tangang farms.
.life. Okay.
Yeah. So that these are like but you know, if this is the Tangang, they could put whatever they want in here. So but I think the Fux guys, you can create your own pools as well. So you could create like a Desi and Maxi pool, or a, you know, Desi and Maxi Lucky pool, or whatever. So there's some cool shit there. I was gonna chat just random couple of things, but did you see, because I had it in the chat, and we were I was talking about there's that McAfee stream with RH, and he was talking about who they think Satoshi is, like Nakamoto Satoshi.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from, like, as a disclaimer, before talking about this, do you think it's rude to like look into this stuff and kind of go, you know, oh, it could be this guy, it could be that guy, because he's obviously made his intentions clear to remain private, or he could just be dead.
I think it's rude.
Do you think it's rude to be like digging into this stuff and just be like, I think it's this guy, so. You know, or whether it's like, maybe we should all know, like, if we think we know who it is, then maybe we should be like talking about it. So
I don't know if I don't think it's rude. I think it's
okay, cool.
Fair
in that
game.
Case, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, dude.
I went down this rabbit hole on the weekend, and I was like, because I was looking at that McAfee stream, and he was talking about, with RH saying, oh, who do you think Satoshi is, or who do you think the richest guy is in crypto, and all this sort of stuff. And they had a few conversations, and McAfee basically alluded to the fact that he, based on analysis on the Bitcoin white paper, that they had narrowed it down to quite a few people, but he was implying that it was this Adam Back guy, who's the CEO of Blockstream. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I started looking at a bunch of sites and a few documentaries and things like that. But the biggest thing about it was they were talking about the fact that he used, in the Bitcoin white paper, they use English translation or English variations of words where you could use like an S or a Z. You know,
the English version is an S.
Yeah, English.
The English version is an S.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm just discounting Craig Wright because I think he's a douche. So, and I don't think, even though he's Australian, so we're not even talking about Craig Wright. So,
it's so
of these cypherpunks, it's so not him. If you look at all the cypherpunks on that cypherpunk mailing list, and if you look into it at all, there's really only one like main guy who's British, and it's this Adam Back guy, and he has released a whole bunch of papers where he uses double spacing at the end of like a period, so like between sentences, which is apparently an old typewriter thing where you would use double spaces. And so in the Bitcoin white paper, there's double spaces at the end of the period in between sentences, and in nearly all of Adam Back's technical reports, he also uses double spaces in between periods, which is a pretty random thing to do.
Is it though? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Is it though? Yeah.
It might be for us. It might be for us, but
yeah, maybe of that generation, maybe
of his, like, you know, so we can assume that whoever Satoshi was or is, that he was of a particular age to be able to like write what he did. It wasn't a kid. It wasn't like a teenager. It was someone, and it was someone of that, like an older, like a guy who would probably be at least in his 50s or 60s now. you know, because we're talking 15 years ago. So if he's in his 50s, that means he did it. You would think that there was someone who was like probably 35 plus.
Exactly. Yeah. At least.
So that would make them now like 50 to 60 years old if they were still alive.
Yeah. And this guy was born in the 70s, so
it could look, it could be him. I think he's.
Let me just pull up the thing that I was talking about. So, for some reason, Struggle Town.
It's hard to say, man.
Sorry,
it's hard to know.
I've got too many things going on here. But if I pull this up, so this is Adam Back's like whatever his page or whatever. You can look at. So he invented the hash cash, and if you look at his,
yeah, this is a good point by Retrostatic, that the early versions of Word used to do double spaces.
Oh, really?
I remember that. I remember there were some word processors that would do double spaces.
Interesting. So this is, I should have
2002.
See if I can pull this up. So this is the Bitcoin white paper, and it has got these huge double spaces in between. So, okay, well, that's interesting to think that if it was something that Word did, but also Adam Back is fully in the Bitcoin white paper. Like he actually says here, I don't know if you can see this. This is when they're talking about proof of work. To implement a distributed timestamp server on a peer-to-peer basis, we will need to use a proof of work system similar to Adam Back's hash cache. So like the literal Bitcoin white paper is talking about, there's no one else that gets mentioned in it, but it's this Adam Back guy.
But I guess the question is, if he had written all these other papers that relate to it, why like there must be a specific reason why for the Bitcoin white paper he decided to do it under. There must be a reason why for the Bitcoin white paper, if it was indeed him, why did he choose for that one to do it under a pseudonym?
Yeah, there's
why? That's the question.
Okay, so
I don't,
there's interviews
with him
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's interviews with Adam Back, and he talks about that, and because people just say, well, hang on to why would Satoshi do this? And he said, this is like his words were based on that paraphrase, but he was saying that it's because if people know who to contact, then they will ask for things. Like they will say, oh, it would be better if you could do it like this. It would be better if, can the devs do something, or the price is down or whatever, just, it wouldn't it be better if it worked in this way or that way? But if there is no one that you can contact, then it's like, it is what it is. And then, so any updates have to have a genuine democratic consensus where everyone has to agree that there has to be a change. And then that's why when there wasn't a consensus, they had to do the fork to Bitcoin Cash and things like that. So, and there's this, so anyway, there's some really interesting docos about it, and about the sort of mutiny that went on the early, Bitcoin talk chat boards that they used to, have the conversations back and forth, and then how it kind of diverged, and some of the sentiment diverged, and then there was the actual fork and stuff. But yeah, anyway, I just thought it was really interesting, and I sort of just looked into it, and I think Tangent was telling me, because he was telling me that there's a bunch of other people as well that are like, potential candidates for it. But I was like, I'm sold. Like, it's this guy.
Yep.
I'm like, case closed. I was like,
so if it was that guy, like, he must be very, very, very wealthy. Like we're not talking about a guy driving a Mazda. Like he must be wealthy, because, or either if it's him, he must have lost his keys. Because why would
That's
you
one of the
leave?
interesting things, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, he's the CEO of Blockstream or something, and he still does a whole bunch of other stuff. But you must think, did
Why
he
would you
lose his
leave all
keys?
that
Or
money? Like, did he lose his key? But you kind of think that's good. There's no way a guy on that level would lose his keys, right?
maybe he
There's
just
no
spent
way.
it on cocaine and hookers, man. Like, maybe he just literally did a BitBoy. Like, who
But it's
knows?
still there. It's still on chain. It hasn't been moved.
Oh yeah, true.
5%.
Yeah. It's
You know,
true. That the Satoshi coins have never moved. Yeah. Oh yeah, I thought he just lost his keys. I was just like, but maybe he's done some deal, or who knows? Or maybe it's just like he's too afraid that if he touches those coins, that it'll point back to him. That was a pretty lame attempt to segue to Bitcoin. Oh shit, what is going on here? What is going on here? I was trying to
shout out to everyone in the chat, by the way.
Yes,
shout out to everyone in the chat.
Please, if you can, try and chat to the chat for 2 seconds while this crummy CoinDesk site tries to load. I was just going to say something about BitBoy, but it's like, fucked my computer.
Let me say good day to the people in the chat. What's going on? Brizology, Retrostatic, Finbear, Putin Guru, Mango Junkie. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're here on the DeFi happy hour with Dozer and 43OG here on a Friday afternoon in Australia. We're doing these streams on the DeFi Down Under channel because that's what we like to do. We like to get together on a Friday afternoon and have a virtual beer.
That's it. And I can see Finbear's in the chat. And oh, look, Brizology. Oh, there's some legends here as well. My computer is getting slightly wrecked, so maybe I'll stop trying to share shit. But basically, this BitBoy thing I thought was, because I actually feel for BitBoy, because he had his channel taken away from him. It was like a coup, and he had stuck up for RH a couple of times, but still he was shilling a bunch of scam coins and all this sort of stuff. But the fact that he was asking for money, I just wanted to get your opinion on this.
I have skeptical hippo eyes on this whole thing. I think that, dude, let me tell you, I've got skeptical hippo eyes on this whole thing. And
big time.
If you don't know what the skeptical hippo eyes meme is, go look up skeptical hippo eyes. That's what I've got right now on BitBoy and all this thing. I've got nothing bad to say about BitBoy, but I think this whole thing,
he's asking for donations, man.
No, I think this whole thing is like him and his separation from the channel and all this sort of stuff. I think it's all orchestrated.
Yeah,
that's my point of view. I think it's all orchestrated because maybe they've done stuff they shouldn't have done with the funds, and this way everything gets obfuscated in a way because it just gets lost in the separation of this and that. He doesn't actually own anything. It's like the companies.
Someone took his Lambo.
It's like I don't think
Lambo.
I think that this is all like a way of just like not going, like making it hard for any agency or any government entity that comes after him. I think if he just shows, oh look, I've been a bad boy. I've cheated on my wife. I did this. Now my business has been taken away. What are they going to go after him for once he's been wrecked so badly? Like, I feel like that's my take, man. But I'm a cynical person, bro.
I think I think you could be right. I think you could be right. It could just be like all of life's stage type thing, and it's just for the engagement. But it's just like, it's a bad look, I reckon, is to be like flexing, the Gucci tracksuits, the Lambos, all the rest of it, and then just to be like asking for donations like less than like a year later. Anyway, that was just something that happened that I thought was funny. Slightly more concerning, did you see ANZ is looking at launching their CBDC? They had something where they were working with Chainlink, and they did a test transaction. So it looks like the CBDCs are like...
They did a test transaction. Hooray! Well done.
We did it. Mission accomplished. Yeah. It's like, what about the low test? Do you reckon they'll just fully get hacked? Like they'll just get... Because people are going to be like, fuck this, CBDC.
I hope they get hacked. I hope they get hacked. I hope they get hacked. I really do. I want what's bad. Like I want the worst thing that could happen to banks that could possibly happen.
You want to breathe smoke when it comes to CBDCs.
I want them to like virtually bleed out the anus. That's what I want to happen to banks.
Yeah. I mean, we'll wait and see, but it's just like I keep seeing them inching closer and closer. I mean, this was literally a week ago or whatever. And it's like, I think NAB had some thing going, but now that they're ANZ are doing it, and isn't it ironic that they've gone, oh, we're cracking down on crypto exchanges and things like that, and how much money you can send, and then also we're embracing crypto, but only with CBDCs, and then we may or may not program those CBDCs so they can only be spent in a certain way that suits them. It's like, yeah. Anyway, I just think it's a bit of corruption. But yeah,
we're at this point, dude. We're at this like inflection point almost where, with crypto, where it's almost getting to the point where people need to be able to spend their crypto. Now that like cash is slowly being withdrawn, like access to cash is slowly, we can see that
it's nearly gone. Man.
Like people they're taking it away. I mean, you can still go get it. You can still go get
but in like $200, $500 block. Yeah, some ATMs like $200.
So I think how much can you get like a day?
Oh man, you can't even go to the bank like teller.
ATM,
I mean, assuming
an
that
ATM will give you 500. Is it 500 or 1,000 a day?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So most ATMs are like $200 now. Only some will do 500, and if you go to a branch, I'm serious, man. Like I was trying to pay a roofie for something not so long ago, and it was like $450, and I had to go to like 3 different ATMs. I was like, this is a fucking joke. And then and so if you go to like your bank's whatever it is, ANZ or Combank, like their ATM, you might be able to get the 500. But most of the ones
so
here,
what's that? That's 365. That's 180. That's $180,000 that you could take out in cash a year, but you'd have to go every single day.
Yeah, I suppose if you think of it that way, but
no, but I should be able to walk in and say, if I've got $180,000 in the bank, maybe they don't have $180,000 in cash, but I should be able to call my bank and say, yo, have that shit ready for me in a week or however, like I need that shit in a week. Yeah. Have 180 grand ready for me. I'm coming in. I want the money. What do you need it for? I don't know. Coke and hookers. None of your business.
Yeah, that's that. Like that video. I think you had it on the Hex Late Show. Shout out to the Late Show guys. And that guy was just literally saying, "Oh, look, my missus or whatever, she likes expensive handbags or whatever it was." It's like he can make up whatever shit he wants to say that he's going to spend it on. But so that's fairly terrible that they're putting all these limits on how much you can get out. But even the fact that if you go to the branch, assuming that they haven't just shut down the branch, because they're also just reducing the total number of ATMs and the total number of branches. But if you do find a branch, and then they're like, some branches, they won't even give you cash over the counter
at this point
at all.
This is the question, right? This is the question. If this is the direction it's going in, why do we even need banks? Like, why do we need them?
Because the volatility with our crypto is so high that we, if we paid for everything
but I mean,
with crypto.
if you can't get cash, like, and all the banks are really doing, they're acting as a middleman, right? And then rent seeking the extra interest that you're paying. Why do we even need them? Like, if they're going to be cunts about it, get rid of them completely. Let's just go, like, ideally, if you're going to get a loan, just get a loan directly from Reserve Bank. Like, why do we even need, like, why not just have a standard, like, thing from the Reserve Bank?
Because they need to charge you interest.
Yeah, I know, but the point is,
that's why they do it. because they want a
But
profit,
if
right?
they have to, if they go and get the money from the reserve, if the reserve bank is creating money out of nothing for a loan to give to me so I can go buy a property, right? Why do I need a bank? Why, like in this age of automation, right? If they're not going to, like, banks are so fucking retarded. They should want cash because it gives them a use case. It gives them a use case. It gives them something that they can be good at, because the second that they're not doing that anymore and they're not useful to us as like, we can't go get cash, we can't go in and do stuff in the branch because there's no more branches. Everything's online. Who the fuck are they anymore? Why do we need them? You just go straight to the like, if everything's automated, let's go straight to the source. Go straight to the source, and if we're going straight to the source, then we don't have to pay this middleman and pay twice as much.
It is a distributed system though, so they all take their cut. That's the thing, isn't it? So, and then plus, because of the fractional reserve, they only need to have, like, say 10% of capital in reserve for what they can lend out. So the banks effectively are leveraged, like leveraged traders, or leveraged loaners. So yeah, they're probably it's pretty fucked up when you look at it and you kind of go, so there isn't. Go ahead.
But when you say they're leveraged loan, yes and no, because let's just say from the perspective of cash, maybe, like you go buy a house, right, and you have 20%, like let's just take 20%, so we haven't got mortgage insurance in Australia, right? Take 20%, we're talking $1 million house, you've got $200,000, you go to the bank, hey, yo, I've got $200,000, give me this loan for $800,000, right? So they're going to take that $200,000, right, and it's going to go to buy the property. They want to see that you've got that money, but then they're going to take the title and hold the title of the So they are covered in that if anything goes wrong,
they can always sell the underlying asset. I guess when I was saying that they're leveraged, I just mean to say that, like, they take your 200 grand, right, but then they use that as a deposit to borrow $2 million from the central bank, and then they lend out $2 million minus whatever to other people. So they're using your deposits as a deposit in their leveraged borrow from the central bank. So that's like how the fractional reserve thing works. So they don't even have that money that they're lending to you, because it's just borrowed at a cheaper interest rate than what they're giving you.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, do we even need this middleman?
No, I know. I agree. We don't need
in a time like they were needed before, when we didn't have the computer systems we have now. Now that we have the compute direct, into the server computer systems.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We don't need them anymore. Like, you just don't need them.
I kind of think of it like, you know how, like, you get like a warehouse, right? So like a warehouse is like buying in bulk from whatever supplier, and then they are selling their stuff to a distributor, and then you're, as a consumer, buying it from that distributor. So it's like, at one point it's like, if I could get warehouse prices and just bypass them and you go straight to the supplier. That's kind of the analogy.
We live in this age. We live in the age of direct. Like, what's Amazon? Amazon, there are other parties that supply Amazon, but if you look at like what Amazon have got them, a lot of the stuff that they have Amazon, it's like their version, Amazon Choice version of it. And, you're sort of, that's what they do. They sort of see what's popular, what sells well, and then they do their version of it and make all the money, because they can ship it to you the next day or the same day or the next day with Amazon Prime. So I feel like that's what should happen. At least, look, if they're gonna fuck us up with money and take away the money, at least do something useful, and then while you're doing that useful thing, and they're making that all more efficient, we can get on with all of our crypto stuff and make them completely irrelevant. Because that's where I want it to go.
I mean,
I want them to be irrelevant.
P sells, but who's buying? And sign me up. Basically, like it's like I'll be the first in line. That's the Megadeth line. But yeah, look, I agree with you, and I think that would be awesome. I just don't know how it's going to happen. But yeah, look, I agree with you.
There will be a fight. It's not going to happen easily, and it
I
might
need more beer
happen
to discuss how that's going to happen.
I think. Let me just say this, because I think we're getting to a point we might have to wind it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
I think that it's not going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen everywhere at the same time. I think you're going to have countries that adopt Bitcoin and Ethereum, like, as you're allowed to just trade, like it's a currency, so you're not paying taxes on that. I think there'll be countries that adopt that, and I think over time, if the more powerful countries don't bomb the fuck out of all of those countries and destroy them completely, I think eventually, if there's enough of those countries, people will move there. People will see, hey, I'm going to go there, and it's going to be this natural thing, because those countries are going to have to. They're going to get very rich if Bitcoin keeps doing what it's done historically.
Yeah,
and they're going to be able to finance everything without debt.
Yeah, that would be unreal. And it is interesting to think about how that sort of military industrial complex sort of works, and how, like, intergenerational debt and taxes and things. And then they basically, the model has always been, like, particularly from the US, that they use wars to to profit almost, and they want the wars to go for as long as possible. And they just sort of, and now they're basically just washing funds, they're laundering funds through these wars, and putting it back into their electoral campaigns and things like that. So I mean, I like to think that if there was some sort of royal commissions and things like that, that some of these people could be held accountable for their corruption, and then that would have some positive impact on how they do things going forward. But I think at the moment, it's just there's so much money in it. There's people, so that it supports the current system that they've got going, and then the people who kind of speak truth to power just get absolutely done. Like I saw, Russell Brand recently. He is basically just, the presumption of innocence is gone, and it's like guilty till proven innocent.
Trial by social media.
Yeah, and it's really quite sad that that's not how it's meant to be, right? There's meant to be a presumption of innocence and stuff like that.
Due process, right?
Due process, and then you can make judgments, but you can't make judgments until the jury has made their decision, and anything before that would be premature. And then there's a whole bunch of other things as well. But yeah, maybe I don't want to get on the soapbox and start complaining too much. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is, before we go, is what did you think about that hack that went on Trump Jr.'s Twitter profile, and someone was like spamming it with a bunch of random shit, and then one of them was like, Richard Hart is innocent, and the SEC, I'm going to burn the SEC when I get in power, or some shit. I mean,
that's pretty funny.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It makes you like, it's like, really? It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that is like high profile stuff. And that's probably can I say that is maybe what's responsible for the pump? Or did that happen before?
I think it was. I think the pump was pumping before that.
Oh,
and
was
then
it? Okay.
It came on the top of it. So
okay,
maybe it just pushed it. It might have pushed it up a bit more. More. I think it was sort of on the way up already, and then that might have pumped it. But yeah, so I guess it's kind of neither here nor there, isn't it? Because on one side of the coin, it's like that guy is spouting a bunch of random things on, the hacker, and then you sort of, now we're associated with everything that he says. So then you want to disassociate from that. but also, is there any such thing as bad publicity? Like just the fact that people, these big media corporations are like, doing screenshots of these tweets and saying, this is what the hack has done.
Yeah.
And then Richard Hart's name is in all of those things. Then it's like, that's got to be good, right? As a net positive.
I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, personally. I want to quickly comment on what Brizology is talking about. I don't disagree with you, Brizology. I think that what I really want, I'm not against currencies that inflate. I'm not against it. What I'm against is the model, the central bank fractional reserve model, that and interest rates and all that sort of stuff, the way it's done now, where it's just a small group of people like working it out. I would much rather a mathematically determined system rather than just having a bunch of people making decisions for the entire world. Like, because the Federal Reserve essentially is making monetary policy for the entire globe, and you can see with the rise of, we're seeing with 100%. BRICS coming out, countries like other countries are getting together. They've had enough. They've had enough of having their reserves, US dollar reserves, whittled away in terms of value, just for sitting.
And they're unelected as well. They're unelected.
Yeah, these guys are unelected. Unelected.
So we're sitting there watching the FOMC thing, waiting to see whether they're going to keep it at 5.5%, or whatever. And it's like everyone's waiting on tenterhooks, and as if that's going to affect all these markets and have flow-on effects. And it's like, who the fuck are these guys anyway? Like, why do they dictate the interest rate? It's like they've got nothing to do with Australia. They've got nothing.
It's time for a new. It's time for a new system. It's time for a new system, I think. And when I say it's time, I mean I think this system has had its time, and it might be, the next 50 years is going to be, I really think the time frame is going to be like the next 50 years.
And it'll be interesting if they can't do the soft landing that they talk about, where, by cranking these interest rates up to curb inflation, then you get the unemployment goes up, right? And then so it's that balancing equation, but there's like a lag, there's like a time delay. So then once they start to pause on interest rates and then switch pivot dovish, and they start bringing the interest rates down, will the inflation just ramp up again? And then also, if the unemployment is still high, then you've got the worst of both worlds, where you've got high unemployment and high inflation, and they haven't dropped the interest rates fast enough, and it's not that soft landing, and you basically just get a recession, which we're possibly already in.
Well, didn't they change the definition of a recession in the US? Like, they changed the definition so that
you just moved the goalposts and
just moved the goalposts, because if they had that old definition, the US would already be in recession.
Yeah. I think it's like GDP or whatever in consecutive quarters or something like that if it goes down. So I kind of agree with you there that hopefully the system can change, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to happen. But I certainly think crypto evolves at such a tremendous speed. Like, it's almost like it's just in its own time zone. That's just, for every year in crypto is like 5 years in traditional finance. So it might be that there's something that happens that just people just go, because I've noticed there's like again, Tosomi was talking about real world assets on chain, and how they were like, they're starting to put like, say, bonds and the forex, for like the different currencies and things like that on chain, on and so you can trade equivalent of like treasury bonds and things like that, but using crypto, like the cryptocurrency equivalent, like representing a percentage of treasury bonds. And so if people can start to trade like that, and particularly because crypto is open 24/7, and the speed of transaction, the cost of transaction on certain chains might be more beneficial than some of these guys who have to wait for the stock market to open and have to pay, you know, middlemen to be able to trade in treasury bonds. There might actually be a sort of an avenue for those guys to participate on blockchain. So that could be interesting.
We're gonna have to find out, mate. We're gonna have to find out.
Yeah.
But look, it's almost 5 o'clock, and where I am.
That's boogie.
And
yep, that's cool.
Yeah. It's been a good chat. We've been going for about an hour and a half.
Yep. Thanks to you, 43, for the chats, and it's always fun on a Friday afternoon to have a couple of beers and pontificate. But yeah, thanks to the chat, and there's heaps of guys there, and I'll have to go back through. Thanks so much for the comments, guys, and yeah, like and subscribe to the channel DeFi Down Under, and we'll see you again next week.
See you later, guys.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Rock on. Enjoy your weekend.
See you later. Cheers.